Welcome, friends, to Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter. We bring you the greatest female voices in the music industry, from the artists, songwriters, and producers, to managers and executives, and all the women who make the music industry what it is today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, friends, to another Crazy Women Country interview. I'm Donna, and today we are here with three at home. Mary and Dan are part of the duo. So welcome. How are y'all doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was excited when I was listening to some of your music. I was like, oh, great music, and beautiful harmony.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I think Dan froze on us already.
I think he did. The joys of Zoom, right?
Absolutely. So as soon as Dan comes back, we'll catch up with him. But we love to start off with the, I think he totally left us now. Okay, so we'll just stop a second. Hold on, everyone. We're just going to pause a minute. And hi, you're back.
Timing. Absolute perfect timing for the app, from the computer to say, no, I'm sorry, you're not getting interviewed right now. That's gonna be
Oh. Well, I'm so glad you came back. We missed you.
Yes, we did.
Yes, and so
thank you.
Tigger,
I feel missed. I appreciate it.
Hello, Tigger.
Oh, so we're just about to start with the most difficult question ever.
Ooh.
Who is three at home?
Ooh. Well, I'm Mary,
I'm Dan,
and that's Dan.
That's Mary.
And I'm Mary, and that's Dan. Yeah. And that's the intro we've used for a long time.
Yeah. That's for a very long time.
Yeah. But we've recently taken on a drummer as well, Kari, and they've started playing with us more regularly. But we are a couple of songwriters who each had our own careers going for about a decade apiece, and then started playing together several years back. And it's been terrific. A lot more fun playing together than playing separately, that's for sure. And a lot more, I think it's been really beneficial for both of us. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of I don't know, genre wise.
I know it's like with that difficult question, right? So tell me about yourself question, right?
It is the hardest question. It's absolutely the hardest question.
It is. We're a rock band, but have a lot of folky, Americana, country, all bleeding into there. And,
I like our new little pitch thing. That was the Fleetwood Mac, and then throw in some Frank Turner and some Brandi Carlile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I think, good harmonies, good messages, lots of fun when we play shows, but also there are some songs that are going to leave people crying.
Yep.
So.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. You have some great music out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I know you've had 3 recent releases. So let's talk about the first 2, because apparently you have some stickers and magnets for them.
I do. If my computer actually behaves itself, it doesn't throw me off again. We have stickers and magnets. For first, we have Magnificat, which is that one there. It's a little shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, Mary wrote, and it's just this amazing song.
Thank you.
And it's my favorite of all of Mary's songs, except for the other ones that are my favorites. And it's just this beautiful kind of like, it started off a little bit like very haunting almost. There's a less fuzzy version. And we, the last time, now that we have a drummer, we went to the rehearsal studio and we actually stepped it up, and it's rocking, and it makes me very happy.
Yeah. The track we put out was a little more stripped down, but
because it was just the two of us too. So
it was just the two of us, and that one, Magnificat was I started writing that in 2018, kind of in the midst of when like the Me Too movement was kind of like really coming into the public sphere in like a bigger way. And was kind of writing it from a place of frustration and anger, and also seeing that coupled with like further issues with abuse scandals coming out of the Catholic Church. And I was raised Catholic, and it's still like in many ways like a piece of my identity. And so I would found a lot of frustration in that, and watching all these, feeling like there were all these systems of power where just like people weren't getting heard. And I felt like that one was especially, it was like in Catholicism, the figure of Jesus, Mother Mary is really upheld, and sort of upheld as sort of like, this is the ideal woman, like this is how you be a woman. And I never found her super relatable. And then I started thinking about like, well, like what if that wasn't her, like the stories that we know, she never told them. So, and how many other women, how many other folks who aren't cis men can say the same, like that they didn't get to tell their own story. So it gave me a good framework to sort of process my frustrations at the time. So, yeah.
It's a beautiful song.
Thank you. And then Athena was the other one we put out in July, and Dan wrote that one. That is also like one of my favorite Dan Russo songs, except for all the others that are my favorites. And yeah. You can talk about that one, Dan.
Okay, yeah, it's. I got this idea in my head of I was visiting the Parthenon in Nashville, and just seeing. I have a degree in classics, so it's one of those things that I'm always super interested in, and Greek and Rome and all that kind of ancient history. And when I saw it, I get this like ringing in my head for weeks was the line, "Oh Athena, I have a headache." And I thought it'd be a cool way to start a song. And then it just went into basically this song about realizing that it's okay to ask for help, and that there are plenty of people who you can reach out to. And I had this idea of in ancient Irish religion, there's this idea of this tripartite goddess. And so I was thinking about that, and Athena was the first one. The second verse is about Saint Bridget, who is a very important figure in Irish and Celtic Christianity. And then the third one was Lilith, where we get Lilith Fair from, who was Adam's other wife. And there's a whole kind of like mythology and story about her and how this kind of like really important female empowerment movement too, which is really, I think, it's important to kind of recognize and remind people about. So,
also a beautiful song, because I'm sure some people have not heard it yet. So I'm going to let you all know to go check these out after the interview. We will have all the links and descriptions.
It's a little more rocky and sing-alongy than the other ones.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the recent release, which is Shatter Me, tell us about that. Did you two write it together?
Here's
or
the problem.
did one of you...
Oh yeah, we haven't made stickers for that one as
So
of recording. They are.
The stickers will be here on the 15th. So if you're watching those after the 15th, we have stickers. Please come talk to us. We will be more than happy to give you stickers for Shatter Me as well.
Yep. Yeah, Shatter Me. I wrote that one a long time ago. Well, it feels like a long time ago now. It was a few years back, but it's been a long time coming for actually like recording it. And
you didn't want to play it at first until I encouraged you to play it more.
That is correct. Yeah. I was very nervous. I think I sat on it for a year maybe before I actually performed it, which is not normal for me. It was a very so when I became a mom, I think there was a lot of expectation that I was just gonna like start pouring out songs about motherhood, and I found it really difficult to write about that experience authentically, because on the one hand, of course, there's just tons of joy and tons of wonderful things happening. And I mean, and everybody talks about parenting is hard. And it definitely is. And it definitely was for me, especially in those early years. I think it was made further difficult by needing to process a history of abuse and trauma that I was finding like impacting just my life in general, and certainly coming into play in parenting, and not wanting to pass that on. And so it is my song for my kids. It's also sort of a song for myself, and for like figuring out how to move forward, and how to like, you need to be able to open yourself up a little bit more to that experience, and to being a parent, and like not stay closed off and so protective, and so it's been a tough one to put out into the world, but it's felt important and valuable, and I think it's spoken to people, which is cool to see. Like, kind of always feel like that's part of the job, is like not just completely selfish healing, although that's valuable, but like if we can help make other people's lives a little bit better too, that's I feel like that's part of the job, so
Absolutely.
And it's one of the ones that makes me cry every time I hear it. So it's
thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And when you share such personal experiences like that, a lot of artists have said that it's very difficult sometimes when it's so personal, and to that point where it's so personal to your core of who you are and stuff, and at that moment. And there are certain songs that there are artists that they even have released, and they're like, we don't want to really sing it unless it's really requested. We know it's helped other. That's why we put it on our albums. But
Yeah.
It's
It's definitely not one we play at every show. There's definitely there have been a few we're like, we're not gonna play Shatter Me today. They're not here for that. But I know people were hoping it would get recorded, and I'm glad that we did it. And so I think as by the time this is released, it will be out there. So yeah.
absolutely. And I'm sure you'll get more feedback of people saying thank you, and it helped me. And absolutely.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did you both get started in music? Obviously you started individually and kind of came together collaboratively. So tell me, I'll start with Dan here on this one. Make him feel special.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I've always had music in my family. It's always been a really important part of growing up. My parents had this big party every December 23rd. And that for me was like the beginning of the Christmas holiday, basically. And they wouldn't send out invitations, and they would buy maybe a couple bottles of wine, and there were, somewhere between 30 and 70 people would show up at my parents' very small Brooklyn house, and with food and drinks, and people would, go Christmas caroling. And I put that in quotes only because I remember when I was like 7 or 8, we'd go out for like an hour. And then when I was about 17 or 18, we go out for maybe 25 minutes. And then now there was one, like whatever, the one right before the pandemic in 2019, we went out for, I think walked up another block and then came back in because it was too cold. But a big part of that is the fact that they'd sing a whole bunch of 50s and 60s songs, and everybody would sing in really like 4 or 5 part harmonies and stuff like that. So that was kind of like one of those things that was always really important to me. And every Sunday, my dad played in a folk choir at Mass. He had his acoustic guitar, and I that's how I taught myself to play, by learning a whole lot of hair metal ballads. And once I got Cinderella and Bon Jovi, then I decided in high school we need to form a band, and in college I had a band. And then when I graduated, I was like, if I don't stop, I don't have to stop. So I just decided not to stop. And then, yeah, so that was basically that there, I guess. And I loved doing theater in high school and college and even after then. So I guess that's my musical path as succinctly as I could get it. So
Oh, well, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
I mean, and I've been doing music like growing up for a long time. I took piano lessons on and off as a kid. Between the ages of like 7 and 14, I would do them year on, year off, year on, year off. And started singing when I was probably like 12 or so, started getting really interested in singing, and ended up going to school for music, and which is not necessarily where I thought I'd be going at the beginning of high school, but then it just kind of took a hold of me, and it was like, sometimes you get a thing and it's like, why would I do a different thing? So that was an awesome experience. And I grew up, same thing, doing like learning harmonies and folk choir at church, kind of like figuring things out on the fly too. That was definitely, there was definitely music around me. I don't know that it was like quite to the same degree as in Dan's case, at least in my family. There definitely were musicians. Like my great grandmother was like a classical pianist and stuff, that it was around for sure. And both my grandpas would sing all kinds of stuff, usually just like folk tunes or old country tunes, things like that. And I got really into theater in middle school and high school as well. And that's definitely had an impact on me as a performer and as a songwriter as well. Like I can't seem to avoid that little like theater tract, like kind of running through anything I write. So
it's that move. It's the move. It's the
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. And then I've been obviously kept. I was pretty dedicated to that's what I was going to do from probably about 10th grade on. So, and I've had moments where I thought about doing something different and then would try it for a while and would be miserable. So kept coming back.
Oh, well, I can totally understand that. When you try something different, you hate it. You're like, yeah, no, not me.
Yeah,
Totally get
yeah.
it. No. So, who are some of the women that inspire you?
Ooh. I love.
Yeah,
right. I was like, "Where's Brandy?"
Brandy's over
on
there.
Dan's wall somewhere.
There's Brandy right there.
Brandi Carlile. I think she's incredible. I've loved her since The Story. Like, like it's just such a great songwriter, so raw and vulnerable and sensitive, and like, so much of what she's done like made sense to me. Like like her music made sense, her way of doing it made sense, like on a level that I've got her lyrics tattooed on my arm. I'll never hit the big time without you is my tattoo for my kids from her song The Mother. Like it speaking of songs about parenting, like that's the one that like I'm like, yes, that's how parenting feels for me specifically. Like I understand that song, it's not corny and it's not like it's everything. So I adore her. I love I also love Sarah Bareilles, again, speaking of like the theater thing that I can't get away from. Like I've like, especially as like a singer and someone who plays keys and who's done, she has that same streak running through no matter what she's doing. And a lot of her lyrics and like the way she structures her lyrics are just always, but like then just also who she is as a person. Like, I definitely have like don't know. Start naming some people. Then you know some people. You know.
Okay,
some
no, I
awesome
I,
ones,
I
so,
have
yeah.
my list too. I'm
Go.
waiting
Yeah,
to-
you got a good list. I can see it on your face now.
Yes. So my first love was Linda Ronstadt.
Mhm.
And very soon after that was Susanna Hoffs. Not only
Mhm.
because they have amazing eyes, because their voices are just absolutely incredible. And I love their attitude too. Like I love the fact that Linda Ronstadt could just effortlessly jump from genre to genre and just crush every song she ever sang. And then when the Bangles came out, I'm like, wow, that's unbelievably interesting because it's so cool. And I mean, it was the 80s, so they were, I'm sure that their look was a big part of it, but it was still like they amazing musicians who were great. And then I think what really pushed me to want to play professionally, like actually like to get out there and get on a stage and do stuff, was when I saw Melissa Etheridge for the first time. I was like, wait a second, you can play rock and roll on an acoustic guitar. That's allowed. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And that's when I decided that I wanted to. I feel like that was like the moment where I was like, this is the thing that I think I might be able to pull off. Was Melissa Etheridge definitely kind of like shoved me in that direction, I think.
Those were great. All of the artists that both of you mentioned are amazing. Yes.
Oh,
Couldn't
absolutely.
agree more.
And there's probably so many more that I can give you.
mean-
Like, oh, I like them because of this, and like them because of this. Like, there's a whole tremendous
Right.
list, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I could go on for days too, talking about different women and how they've inspired me even. And, I just do lyrics. So I'm kind of, out here in left field all by myself, usually writing lyrics, but yeah.
Well,
So
Emmylou Harris, perfect example, I think.
Mhm.
Her lyrics
There you go.
are absolutely amazing.
Yep.
This is like,
yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to go to the really fun segment, the 20 crazy
go.
questions?
sure.
Let's go. Let's do
Okay,
it.
let's do it. No right or wrong answer. And I promise we will not get arrested yet.
Boy, okay.
Tell us, what's your dance like nobody's watching song? The song that you have to dance to.
Oh, shoot.
That one's, I think I have two. One is this song called No Hay Dos Sin Tres. It's a song that I forget who it's even by. And it's when the Spanish national team was trying for like a third World Cup in a row or something like that. And the song was just amazing. And the other one is Let Me Clear My Throat, because that song is the best with the horn section and just like the bounciness. It's just amazing.
I love those answers. Mine are largely like 90s pop tunes, like, your Spice Girls, right? Like Wannabe, like that. Or I was very deeply into like boy bands in the 90s, right? Like, so like, but like NSYNC. I didn't like Backstreet Boys as much, but like NSYNC, I just like, that kind of thing will absolutely get me out of my seat. But then like, you get, I mean, you get
Elevation by U2 is another really good one.
that's a fun
yeah.
one. That's a fun one. Yeah, those are the.
Bye 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 is an excellent tune.
That's I mean, and it has a dance built right in. Like, how would you not? How would you not?
Exactly.
Even if you just sit down and you only do that, like
I
that's
know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Well, so in your opinion, what's the perfect workout song?
Ooh. I had one.
Something by Rage Against the Machine.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, it has to be something that like gets me
Aggressive. Something that's like
aggressive.
like literally get your heart pumping without having to move yet.
Right. Or like, oh yeah, it either has to be aggressive or it has to be like super like EDM, like really like, like we need a lot of that. Like somebody, took some sort
Heavy
of like
beats.
Celine Dion vocals and like threw it over like
Grace Potter has a
Weird.
couple of rock songs though that actually work really well when you're going for a run. So
Mm,
yeah, if you don't know Grace Potter, she's a musician from Vermont. She's rock and roll, very
Yeah,
bluesy.
she's
just
fantastic.
amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, if anyone listening to this doesn't know who Grace Potter is, you better go check her out after
fix
after
that.
the interviews, everyone.
Right.
You know.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, so tell me, top 2 concerts you've ever been to.
Oh, we just answered this one recently.
We did,
Oh.
and we came up with weird answers, and
We did.
yeah,
Largely they're probably at least one of them is a Frank Turner concert. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least for I think for both of us. At least one of them is a Frank Turner concert. He just puts on a heck of a show. And let me see here. And again, like seeing Brandy Carlisle in concert is, I saw her at the Orpheum in Boston. And like she came out on stage with the twins, and they like, because of the nature of the theater, it's like old and like really designed for like acoustics without microphones too. And so they took advantage of it and they did something completely off mic, and just like saying some it was like,
it was amazing.
it was
Yeah.
ethereal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those two definitely rank pretty high for me.
I mean, and then Bruce, U2, Foo Fighters, those shows are just spectacles that are just amazing. And I think that, I don't know how people feel about Coldplay, but their shows are so fun, like super fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing Coldplay at I think it was Red Rocks. They had filmed it. I was like, oh, that was so awesome. I don't remember where I caught that. I was like, oh, I remember just catching it and catching the tail end of it. I don't remember what channel it was on, where it was, how it came up. And I'm like, how did I miss this whole thing and just catch the end? Just came in the house, whatever. And yeah.
I would love to see literally anyone at Red Rocks. Like just
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
space seems so cool. Like dream venues to play,
It is.
dream venues to see a show. Like, of course you've been there. How dare you?
Well, one of the other things too that I when I was thinking about this, of course, after we answered this question last time, I was thinking about this. Like one of the best shows I've ever seen has been like seeing our friends on this small stage in Somerville,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, and just like the community and everyone's there, and
Mm-hmm.
just the way that that everyone's kind of supportive of each other. It's just really an amazing thing that it kind of like Visiting Wine, who you probably never heard of, but they're amazing. But
They're incredible.
yeah, and like that is one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Right.
So I think that's an important thing. You can go big, you can go small, and they're both good. I
That's
guess.
right. Yeah. Some of the best shows are really intimate ones, or really smaller ones, and some spaces are just magical, and it doesn't matter the size.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say like one of my favorites, I won't say this, probably top 2. I wouldn't say, I don't know if I would pick this or not, but it was one I got to see before everyone knew who Ashley McBryde was. And I had just heard of her like a couple of years prior to that. And she really didn't have much music out, obviously, that we could find everywhere. Like, when you're an independent artist, it doesn't all come out at once. And, but I remember I got to see her. She was the opener. They didn't even have her on the bill really. Like, they're like, oh yeah, this person named Ashley McBryde. I'm like, and that was one of like the best, because she's just such a down to earth like person too, and it's like, it was just such a great time at the small venue, and not a lot of people come through Florida anyway. So it was so great to just be able to enjoy that because
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So tell me some albums or maybe an artist or 3 or 5 that I need to listen to before I die.
Mm.
Frank.
I mean, yeah, Frank Turner for sure. Yeah. How did you describe him on the internet that one time?
Punk rock Mr. Rogers.
Yes. It's
I like that description.
Yeah,
it's very
foul mouthed and
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I don't know if you can see this. This is my other favorite Frank thing that I have. It's like it's like a little icon.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
he's from the UK and very much like punk roots with a lot of like folk and Americana coming into his music as well. But
He
puts on a
loud acoustic guitar.
and just very like, again, like very vulnerable lyrics and like doesn't try to come at things sideways. Like he's just like, this is the truth, and I'm telling you the truth right now in your face. And then he puts on a show that's just that he gets everybody super energized and is like, this is a great community. Look at this amazing community we're building. And now we're going to take all that and we're going to go out into the world and make it a better place. Like take this energy out of the show and like gets you all riled up. And I'm like, this is brilliant. This is amazing. Yes, we're going to do that. Absolutely.
Right there. That's
yeah. Like professional goals. Absolutely. Also, I'm fully bought in. Yes, let's go.
100%.
Like, he's fantastic.
But
I feel like we have
the Bends by Radiohead is one of my favorites. It's over there. That's why I was looking at it. That's like that's just an amazing record. Definitely, if you haven't heard Visiting Line, go listen to Visiting Line because
they're amazing. Yeah, I don't know. Some of my favorite albums are like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was formative for me. I listened to that one on end and was introduced to Carole King's Tapestry when I was in college, which like certainly was well past when it was released, but like it just like that is still such a good album.
August and Everything After by Counting Crows is probably a really important part of at least my songwriting.
Yeah,
so
and I mean, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, let's say Bringing Down the Horse by Wallflowers is one of my favorite records ever. That's a great record.
That's a good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, there are definitely a lot of bands in the Boston area that and artists that I just absolutely adore. Yeah, like you named Visiting Lines. They're based here, but I feel like I could there's a host of musicians that we know, Rachel Marie and Jesse De Silva and help me, I've forgotten names of everyone I know. All of a sudden. Yeah. Let's
see who else. Molly O'Leary.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just like it's right there too. I was like, wait a second.
I know, like every person I've ever met. There's just God, so many. There's so many. I'm not answering these fast at all. Did you?
It's all good. It's all good.
Cool.
You give everyone some really great music to go check out. Again, after the interview, I have to keep repeating that because someone will probably like, I go check this out and leave. And like, no, don't leave.
Right.
No, we have to get good questions coming up. See, check out the stickers. Yeah. Okay. So tell me, I don't think either of you have guilty pleasure music. You know, that music that no one knows you ever listen to. Except for maybe like, I don't know, Baby Shark or something weird like that. Obviously being a mom, you might, that might be like one of your favorite playlists. I don't know. But yeah, do you have any guilty pleasure music here?
I've been trying to lean into the idea of not framing things as guilty pleasure anymore. I definitely had a lot of like unnecessary shame around my love for like 90s pop. And I think I'm letting a lot of that go as time goes on. Just being like, why, yes, I did listen to a lot of like NSYNC and like listened to every Mariah Carey album and listened to, like all these things that like, I love that stuff. I do. It's a lot of fun. And I mean, here's one, like, everybody has a lot of feelings about Imagine Dragons, and I just think they're great. I think they're great. Yeah. But I get so much crap for this, and I'm just like, I don't care how basic it is, man. It's great tunes.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I remember I was a songwriting major in college, and one of the funniest moments around guilty pleasure music was this is we're talking like 2004, 2005. People naming artists, and somebody finally just like named Justin Timberlake, and like this department was not like there's a lot of jazzers. This is Berklee College of Music, Boston, and so like it's a lot of like jazz folks and like there were certain spaces that were very snobbish around certain artists and genres and whatever. And I remember like someone just being like, okay, but I like kind of like that Justin Timberlake song. And then everybody just breathing a sigh of relief in the room and just being like, oh my God, but right? Like, like, but Senorita, it's such a good, I don't know. I don't remember which tune it was at the time, but just being like, oh, I can just like stuff. Like, anyway, that was a very long answer. Once again, Dan, go ahead.
That was a great answer. I don't have I don't think there's anything in any playlist, any record that I have that I've kind of like try to hide.
You're very good about that. You like always just like own like, yes, I love that.
Yeah. And I actually was quoted recently as saying that Taylor Swift is the best living American songwriter. And the quote was in my group of friends, and there was I wouldn't say a argument, it was a heated discussion that happened after that with people throwing out other names. I was like, no, she's just that good. She's better. I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. So a lot of hair metal, it's just tremendous musicians doing tremendous things. And I went to see Poison last weekend, and I was so excited. 15-year-old me was ecstatic. I've never seen Poison. And then I finally get to see them, and CeCe DeVille, the guitar player, puts like 3-minute guitar solo, and it's just, people's minds were blown, and it was like, this is the coolest thing. So that's if it's good, it's good. Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I mean, I listen to everything. So, I mean, I'm always one of those that I remember growing up and I'd be like talking about country in school and everyone would be like, yeah, we don't know who you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, none of you listen to anything outside of just the mainstream pop. I'm like, this is just boring. I can't have conversations with anyone.
Well, I mean, when Garth Brooks at that big concert in New York, I was there. It was amazing.
Oh, awesome.
It's like so cool.
That must have been for sure. I mean, I got to see it on video, obviously, from, but yeah, that must have been such an experience to be there.
Well, from where I was sitting or standing or whatever, like the video is much better, I promise. But it definitely sounded cool.
No. So tell me, hypothetically, if I came to you and said, I need to hide a dead body, do you know a good place?
Jersey.
Jersey?
Yeah, where would I?
New Jersey. Sorry.
Right.
We probably figure it out. We might figure something out.
Yeah.
I might know.
I know. Right. I'm fairly certain I know some people. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yep.
Oh, I've gotten some very good answers to that. So at least if I ever do need to hide a body, there's lots of people I can call apparently. So I'm very thankful to that.
Which is amazing. And
Right.
I often wonder, like, how forthcoming are people? People are like, oh, of course I do. Or people like totally like get freaked out and like, oh,
yeah. There have been a couple of those. There have been some people that are like really freaked out. I'm like, it's not serious, people. It's just a joke. I'm like, I'm not killing anyone for real. I'm pretty sure if I killed someone, I'd be calling 911 myself because I'd be like, yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'm trying to save them, like.
Right.
Do you have a game plan for zombie apocalypse?
Oh, yeah. Dan's like, yes, I absolutely do.
It's like, yeah. Maybe we should just listen to Dan and do whatever he.
I have a lot of water in the basement. For some reason, I don't know why. Every time I went shopping, like during the pandemic, I always get like 2 gallons of water. Just why? I don't know. Just in case the water goes out, I guess, whatever. And so it just here. Just it's nothing technical bad or anything. So, other than that, I don't have a plan. I don't have like. I can teach myself archery again, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like I feel like we got a lot of wood. I don't know. Like we have a lot of wood in the backyard. I get that's more vampires. I mean, you could still. I feel like anything through the through the eye, right? Is probably the
Yeah.
solution.
I'm actually I also I love cooking, so my knives are pretty sharp. So I think that's
There you go. There you go.
could be
We're
helpful.
good.
So
Might also try
Wood
on,
and knives.
right? I'm like, I don't know. I think it depends what phase they're at and like how we got there. Like, do I defend them?
and where we
You know?
are and you know if we're running or if we're boarded up or there's a whole lot of things that need to
Right. Exactly. A lot of
Too many
considerations. Are
many-
they flexible on the type of brain? Like, could it be, birds? Could it be,
Yeah,
There we go. We could
this
Right?
turn them on to
good.
birds.
I like this.
could we take a bunch of worms and shape them into a brain? And would that be enough? Like, is it about the aesthetic?
or just really really oily spaghetti.
Yes.
Could absolutely
I think we're prepared. I think we're ready.
Oh. So tell me, what job would you be absolutely terrible at doing?
Terrible. Oh man.
Ooh.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I always thought I wanted to be a firefighter when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And then my friend who was a firefighter told me about the test, and part of the test is crawling through this 4 foot by 4 foot tunnel, and it's super long. And I'm like, nope, I'm out. My claustrophobia would not let me do that. And I'm like, you know what? As much as I'd like to be a firefighter and I'd be good at some of it, that part, if that comes to that, and I have to save somebody doing that, I think it'd be pretty terrible. It might, or I could just feel heroic and just blast through thinking that I'm going to end up on the news or something, and just it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. But anything involving claustrophobia, I think I probably would not be very good at.
Okay.
I think
Good.
I'd be really bad at like being like a scientist in Antarctica. Like studying, some kind of like probably some kind of anything that involves like small life forms like under a microscope. We're like looking at that and we're trying to remember a lot of details, and they have to be really specific, and we're measuring a lot, and also it's cold. Like I just I'm out.
I'll sign up for that one. Then I'll go tomorrow.
I would like go for like, I'm just saying I wouldn't be good at it. I think I'd be bored, and I don't regulate my body temperature super well, so I would be probably really uncomfortable. And like anything like where we gotta like get all the detail. I'm like thinking about things that I'm not. I feel like there's a difference between like what wouldn't you be very good at, and I wasn't very good at waiting tables. I got fired after one day. It was very stressful.
You did not have good teachers on that. I'm telling you. No.
Yeah, no, it was, I was not, I was like, that's a lot of information I got to hold up here. No. Oh no, I dropped something, one day was fired.
Oh. So if you won the lottery, what's the first thing you would do?
No, you got to get that answer first. Cause I know you
No,
have
but I went first the other times. Your turn.
I just knew you had a good answer. Anyway, okay. If I won the lottery. There'd probably be some paying off of debt, which is not a very sexy answer, but that's just a reality. And then a lot of travel, a lot of like I do a couple of practical things, but then I'd want to do some like travel and some cool charity giving and like,
Mhm.
I don't know that I'd necessarily and like put something in savings. This is such a boring answer. Please help me. This is the
Well, just so you know, I
My
think
answer's
the Family Feud number one answer is pay off debt. I'm pretty sure that's our number one answer. So
absolutely.
I mean, right? 100%
Absolutely.
pay off debt. Yeah.
And then,
Like,
what
not-
you have to do is you have to get into real estate, but not the way you think. You get into
Right.
real estate by buying all of your friends and family's houses and
Mhm.
having them rent it for cheap. So you still have the official kind of like you own it, but somebody's there. and their mortgage goes like down to like nothing.
I love this.
And then I'd buy an apartment in London, and I'd buy an apartment in Santiago de Compostela in Spain, and then I'd buy one in Cusco, Peru. And depending on my mood, I'd go to different ones.
Depending on my mood.
or maybe not London. Maybe I'll get the one in Reykjavik instead of London. That sounds like might be more
Oh,
fun.
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds very exotic. We were talking about that whole Mega Millions. That was huge. I said, okay, so if we win it, what I'd like to do is buy a little land and have like a cottage, not a tiny house, but a cottage, so we can have at least 2 bedrooms. Somewhere out west, like one in Seattle, Washington, not in Seattle, but out in the outskirts somewhere that's big, open, because it's a beautiful area up there. And I said maybe one down in Arizona, New Mexico, because I love that area, and then Northeast. I said I think I'm covered now. I'm good.
Maybe Montana, a nice big
Montana's
big ranch house in Montana. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Versus,
barn dominium.
I wouldn't hate that. No.
Oh, so tell me, what's the last thing you read?
I'm in the middle of rereading The Air Affair by Jasper Fforde. It's like this alternate universe situation, but it takes place. It's in the 80s, but still an alternate universe from our 1980s, and in the UK. And this inventor finds, like, first of all, like books are like sacrosanct, like you don't mess around, like, and there are people who like get into arguments about like fist fights, like form gangs around like who was Shakespeare and stuff, and like who actually was and like the Baconians, and like it's very, there's some very nerdy literary stuff happening in there, but then they find a way to like go into books, and this like villain finds a way to go into Jane Eyre, and his goal is to like eliminate the characters from the original manuscript, which would in turn alter all future, like it's a funny there's like time travel, but also, yeah, The Air Affair. It's the Thursday Next series, because that's the name of the main character, is Thursday Next, and she's a literary detective.
Okay, perfect. I have that on my to read list now for sure.
There you go.
My answer is much more boring. I'm finishing up a master's degree, so I'm reading a ton of stuff. The last thing I read was an article called, it's still open on my computer, which is why I'm looking at it now. Fit to Play, Musicians' Health Tips, about proper stretching and maybe even weightlifting, and how that's helpful for musicians, whether they're students or professionals. It's a little less exciting than Jane Eyre, but it's
valuable.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing a paper right now. Actually, just finished it on mental and physical health of students. Basically, why do kids stop playing instruments after they graduate? So figuring out whether it's a physical thing, I hurt my wrist, so that's a problem, or it's a mental thing, I'm not good, or this is not worth it, because you are good and it is worth it. So that's the
here.
So
I love this.
No, I love it. It's much more exciting than my master's. I have a master's, like an MBA with analytics, so a lot more number and SQL, and
there are so many numbers doing this stuff. It's driving me crazy. I'm like, come on, I don't want to know all these numbers. Stop. Just let me talk to somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. So, and this may not apply to you, Dan, but I'm going to ask, do you prefer boots or heels?
So my boots have this little heel. They're about they're amazing. My brother got married in San Antonio in 2019, and I'm like, I'm going to a wedding in San Antonio. I have to get boots. I got these boots and I love them. And I like the fact that I'm not very tall, so especially around people who I'm friends with. My family are all about the same height, but my friends are all like 6'2", and 6'3", and so I like the little boost I get in my cowboy boots straight from San Antonio. And so actually from Bandera, not from San Antonio, from Bandera, Texas, the cowboy capital of the world. That's so both. There we go.
Both
Yeah.
for you? Perfect.
I definitely like a boot over a heel. Heels can be fun, but I definitely prefer to have my foot enclosed if I'm gonna wear. I like to know where the end of the shoe is. That's pretty crucial for me and my balance. I'm not a particularly graceful human being, so so yeah, definitely also boots. And if it's got a heel, cool, but boots for sure.
And I think after the pandemic and the chaos of COVID, I think a lot more people are less likely to wear heels unless they absolutely have to. I think
Yep.
big trend change there.
Mm,
Not saying we don't still buy a nice, cute pair for a nice occasion, but
absolutely.
so this could be a difficult question for some people. Who would you want to play you in a movie about your life?
Oh my God, we were just talking about this.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo is what
Mark
you said,
Ruffalo.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you settle on Mark? Because you were also naming Jeremy Renner as a possibility.
I like Jeremy Renner as a possibility. I think either one of them would be great. So,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think because literally we were just having this discussion. I don't remember why. I think we landed on like Kate Winslet, and then we also landed on Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, those were
Yeah.
some fun choices. Yeah.
So just Marvel movies. That's all. That's all.
Just
we do is
Marvel movies. That's really like largely just.
Yeah.
Well, we'll call them up and get that started tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
I mean, although I think Idris Elba would do a great job, but he's a handsome man, so maybe Idris Elba. But again, it's Marvel. Oh, come on! I was so.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so this one might be easy or difficult. I'm not sure. I don't know how long you talk about where Waldo is, but do you know where Waldo is?
I hated Where's Waldo when I was a kid. It stressed me out and made me so angry. I could never find Waldo ever. Hours I would spend looking for freaking Waldo, couldn't find him. So I clearly don't ever know.
He's usually at the left-hand bottom of the page. So
He's the place I didn't look yet, apparently.
At least you didn't say he's behind me. I'm starting to wonder if we have a good horror movie in the making. So
Wow, that would be good.
yeah. Hop in on
Where's
every
Waldo?
interview.
Like just
Where's
put it in the
Waldo?
right. I just heard the music on the trailer. Like, where's Waldo? Like,
I think we need to write this manuscript and get it out. Yeah, let's do
it's
it.
gonna be great.
But the trailer is just the puff. It's not the whole hat. It's just the puff of the hat.
Mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
As the O in Waldo. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I think we're just going to set up a date and get this started. I know a couple
This
people
would be
that write
perfect.
some do screenwriting and so I'm like, let's do it now.
I'm here for it. Let's hear.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
I will be calling you both.
Please
Excellent.
do.
In your opinion, what's the best thing since sliced bread?
Ooh.
Does it have to be a food item or is it anything?
No, it can be anything. Whatever you think is the best thing since sliced bread. Whether it's a ring light, a cell phone, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob DeGrom.
The internet.
Jacob DeGrom.
Jacob DeGrom, yes. He's a pitcher for the Mets. Yeah. He's definitely the best thing since sliced bread.
Digital calendars with alerts. I truly could not function without them. Like things they yell at me and tell me to go to places at a time. That's so important.
Oh, I love that.
Yours is better.
No, yours-
I think it speaks volumes that you need to be yelled at to go somewhere. You're running late. Go.
Yes. My side note, true story. When my daughter was very small, she we're talking probably like 2. She was like, "That's a clock. It tells us when we're late." And I thought that was very telling. Not the time. It tells us when we're late.
Now, as somebody who is a beneficiary of Mary's alarms, I think that I probably would have to say Mary having alarms is really helpful to me. As much as I think Jacob DeGrom is the best thing since sliced bread, Mary having alarms is incredibly helpful to my life, especially when it comes to music.
Oh man.
Oh. It's okay. They're all good choices, whichever one,
Right.
In your opinion, what is the worst pizza topping?
Oh. Let me think here. What's one I don't love sausage on pizza.
Well, you don't need a lot of meat, so
I don't, but when I did, it wasn't my favorite. I don't love. I'm there's a lot of things that are
because pineapple
I even
pizza. That's the
well, I know, yeah. I just don't feel that way about pineapple on pizza. So, I
love pineapple. I have a pineapple tattoo, but
I know
I don't like it on pizza. So
it was pineapple and green peppers was my standard pizza in college.
I love green peppers on pizza.
Yes.
Broccoli chicken is the best, though. I think
That is, that's a solid one. But that's bad on pizza. Tuna fish, don't put that on there. I don't know.
No.
Bananas. Yeah. I'm what would be terrible?
Yeah. Unless you're making one of those dessert pizzas, then the bananas might work with some peanut butter and chocolate, and that's different story. But
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
And we are in Eastern time at dinner time, aren't we?
Yeah,
we sure are.
Oh. So tell me, what do you wish would magically clean itself? The car, the house, kids' room. I don't know.
All of those.
Yeah, all of it.
All of those. Please just magically clean.
Specifically my room, not
Mm-hmm.
the kids' room. Because whenever we have parties, my wife and I, we just throw everything in our room and close the door. And it just piles up and piles up and piles up. And I want someone just to go in and clean my room and get that.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, that's what we do in our house too. Ours is the dumping room. So when it's party, everything goes in there and then it never leaves. And yeah.
There is a
literally
full of sweaters and sweatshirts next to my bureau, and I have no idea what's in it. And I guarantee you it has not been moved in 5 years. So
all of this is very relatable. Yes. Yeah. My room. Yes. Agreed. Yeah.
Well, I've been doing some purging, so I can't test any of the things to sing for 5 years right now. So
yeah, good for you. Good for you. I support that.
Yeah, if you haven't touched it in 3 years, they say you can get rid of it. You're not gonna miss it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there you go.
100%.
But I need the 20 minutes to actually sit there and get rid of it. And that's what you have to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us something on your bucket list.
Bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is travel based.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd love to go to Iran one day, or see Jordan, see Petra in Jordan. I'd give me a map and I'd have to go to all of them. So that's
right.
That's my bucket list. I think to go into as many as possible. Let's see, doing. Just I feel like we were talking about this the other day that there's a place in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is right next to Boston, called the Sinclair, and it's almost like a little bucket because it seems like it's almost doable at this point for where we are. How many people we get to a show, the kind of sound we have, and it's tantalizingly close. And so I little bucket is probably playing a show at the Sinclair. Then the big bucket eventually is Red Rocks, I guess. That's
right. Right.
Just make sure you invite
Yeah.
me when you're going, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
come
Of course,
out.
Absolutely.
of course.
Yeah.
You're on the list. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
excited. See, it's the
Yay.
little things that make my day. Oh, if you could be a person like Dolly Parton or someone, or a position like a CEO or president for the day, who or what position would you want to be and why?
Well, I definitely don't want to be a politician of any kind. That sounds horrid. I like the idea. I like the idea of being able to make that kind of change, but no thanks. Like, how would I affect that change
In a
without?
different way. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Bono might be it.
Bono's that's a good answer.
You think about the change that I one of the things I always come back to is the reason I know about Amnesty International is because it was on the bottom of a U2 record and when I was in like 8th grade or whatever, and you know, and when he did all that work with George W. Bush about helping out countries in Africa and their whole with the loans they had in all different countries of the world and figure that out. Like it's like all the good that he's done in the world and the fact that his job is to get on stage with his buddies and sing to 70,000 people a night, you know, that both of those I think were two things that I would really want to do. And I think Bono will probably be the person.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think anybody who's specifically using music and using that power and privilege to affect change, like that would be absolutely incredible. Because I do love this job. I love it, and like getting to, you know, the way it changes other people. It's awesome. So it's sort of, I'm like, what would I do as like, but it'd be really cool to like, you know, get to be a stunt person for a day also.
I want to be a stunt driver though, not a stunt person.
No. Oh, I want to learn how to do like flips and stuff. Like I want to I want to embody the person who already knows how to do that. Like, I don't want to, like, maybe I do want to learn, but I don't want to learn it. Or like someone who does like circus arts. Like I want to know how to do that already.
I'd want to be a cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's pretty cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think we can get a stint on Yellowstone?
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I'm very good at riding horses.
They'll kill us off, right?
Right.
A couple episodes. All I need. A couple episodes. Be totally fine. You'll get a little IMDb credit.
There you go.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, so do you have any words of wisdom that you live by? If so, what are they?
That kind is more difficult than nice, but it's more important because you can fake nice, you can't fake kind. I guess that's probably really high up there.
I like that.
Mhm.
I had something. Hang on. When I teach voice lessons, my general philosophy is if you feel stupid, you're probably doing it right. It's true of most technique things in voice, but I think it's pretty widely applicable. Like if you feel ridiculous, if you feel like this is absurd, this must be too much, this like, you might actually just be doing it correctly and it's just scary. And so I think I try to bring that energy into a lot of places.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I love that. Oh.
Thanks.
So, what does the rest of 2022 look like for y'all? Some tour days coming up.
Yeah. So I think possibly by the time this is out, we may be back from tour, but we're going on tour August 22nd through the 28th. Well, we're kicking it off on the 18th. in Boston or just outside of, with a little like house concert and celebration of the new single Shatter Me that's coming out on the 18th. And we're doing like a live stream with that as well. And then we're headed to Asheville, North Carolina for a couple of days. We're going to Nashville for a couple of days, and then we're heading to Austin, Texas. Yeah, it's called the Secret Tour because we're doing a lot of house concerts, a lot of like pop-up shows, a lot of busking, a lot of like surprise things where people need to like be in the know to find out where we're gonna be. So we're pretty stoked about it.
Instagram and Twitter to find out.
There you go.
It's 3 at Home Band right behind my head.
That's right. And then
Twitter because I forgot the band when I signed us up for Twitter. I just put 3 at Home because I forgot.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
I can put the link in the description.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, then
we have a big show September 9th in Boston, in Cambridge, Somerville. And then we have a couple of smaller shows. We have a big show on what they call the South Shore, just south of Boston in Cohasset on October 6th. And then we have a couple of other things that are going to be coming up in and around there and after there. Mary and I are both going to musically direct a show with teenagers. The Percy Jackson musical, Lightning Thief, is in November. Then we have February, I think, is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And do you know what the third one is yet? Or
I don't know what the third one is yet, but we do it. Yeah, it's
beginning of May. No.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot of that for much of the school year.
Wonderful. Well, you're both welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank
Donna.
you for having us. It's been so wonderful, Donna. Really appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure getting to know you and meet both of you. And I'm glad we can come up with some great ideas for hiding bodies and all that good stuff, And
zombie apocalypse. We're ready. Yeah. We're ready for the zombies.
And the horror movie is ready to roll too. We're good to go there, and good stuff coming up.
It's gonna be great.
Thank you again, and thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode. Have a great day, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode of Crazy Women Country, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to click the subscribe button for new interviews weekly. And thank you, friends, for joining us today on Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter.